Hey guys, welcome back. Reese here, Reese's Shed, and today we're back on the HQ and we're building a fuel system. So I've had a little bit of time off of this. I've been given a few different engines here that I've been pulling apart, trying to get something together for another project. So I haven't been recording too much, but I'm excited to get back on the HQ. And we've got pretty much everything we need to get this fuel system going. So as you can see, this thing's all back together now. So I've got the exhaust manifolds back on, wipe ups back on. So that's all good to go. Got all my leads on. So first things first is I want to get some locations basically locked in. So we're going to start with the fuel pressure regulator. And I think that we're going to fit it down here somewhere on the inner wheel arch. Haven't decided exactly where yet, but somewhere there. And then we're going to figure out where our fuel line's going to go to feed our carby. And then we're going to run some fuel lines back to the back to connect up with our fuel cell and surge tank. So stick around, this should be a good one. Not exactly sure how it's all going to go yet, but we're going to do our best and we're going to soldier on. And hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a good fuel system and we'll have a running car. So grab a drink or something, get comfy, and let's go. So I'm having a look at this and I'm noticing immediately that I may have some problems. So our fuel is all on the other side. So fuel inlets are over here, primary, secondary, and I don't want to run the fuel pressure regulator over here, because I don't want it to be near the turbo. I want to keep the heat out of it, because if I was to mount it there, we're going to have the hot side running past it and the exhaust pipe running past it, so that's not going to happen. Not allowed to mount this on the firewall, that's against the rules. So it has to be over here somewhere on this inner wheel arch. So what my plan is I'll just mount it somewhere that I can easily access it, and I'm thinking right up here, nice and high. Somewhere around there, maybe utilise one of those previous mounting holes from whatever else was on there. I think that was the gas certification placard. So I think I might just use one of them, get that mounted, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with brake line, with fuel lines. But what I'm thinking is I'm probably going to run into a bit of a problem with throttle cable and return spring. So we may need to flip-flop the carby around and run that with the primaries at the back and the secondaries at the front. But I haven't decided on that yet, and I don't particularly want to, because I don't want to strip down the carby we already have and change our floats and jet extensions. So we'll try and work something out this way first, and if that doesn't work, we'll go to plan B. So let's get this fuel pressure regulator mounted and then we'll get on to the next step. So that is tentatively fitted here to the inner wheel arch. And as you can see, I do actually have a couple of my fuel line fittings already attached, because I wanted to see whereabouts they're going to run, what angles they're going to work at. We're going to run -8 supply, -6 return, and then -6 supply to the carby. And I've done that on purpose because I want more supply than I'm going to be using in order for the return to work properly. So I'm happy with the way that's going to be. Now what we're going to do is go up the back and find out where this is going to travel to in order to make it all work. So probably going to go with supply first, and it looks like I can fit it right down through the chassis up against the body there. So I'll stick with that, and then we'll have a look up the back here, figure out where it's going to have to come through. Oh, okay. As you can see, finally the fuel lines have shown up. So I've actually got myself 2 kits here, and these kits were $70 each. This one's an AN6 size, and it's PTFE hose, so this is okay to be using for E85 if I wanted to, but we're not going to, but if I choose to down the track, I can. So that's your dash 6. I've got a dash 8 kit as well. And these come with all of your fittings and everything you're going to need. And obviously down here we've got our dash 6 stuff. So we've got that. Surge tank here has got a dash 8 supply. I'm not sure if we can change that to something else. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I want to get the fuel lines run at least up to here. This is where I'm thinking of bringing them through. Don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, down here I've got a drain for water. So I'm probably going to run the NOS through there. And I was thinking of just drilling 2 more holes side by side for our supply and our return there. And from there it's just a straight shot over to our cell. So probably have a quick look under here now, have a look what is in the way and if it's viable, and then we'll make some hoses up and chuck some bulkheads in. I went down to the hydraulics shop, picked up some, this one's a dash 8 and that one over there is a dash 6. So we're going to run these bulkheads through the floor instead of just running the hose straight through in a grommet or something. These are way safer. So that's the plan. Let's get it done. Good girl. Hey? Good girl, Rogue. Good girl, Rogue. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Nice doggy. Alright. Well, the workshop foreman's just come in and had a look what I was doing and has brought up a very valid concern. So Rogue has just come up to me and said, hey, you are running a surge tank and a fuel cell, and it appears that you're not running a lift pump. And I went, oh, you're right. So the original plan of mounting this thing on the floor next to the fuel cell is a no-go. So we have to come up with another plan, because I'm not going to bother running a lift pump with this. I've always had it in my mind that I wanted this to be a gravity-fed system. So what I'm thinking is, when I get under here to have a look where the fuel lines are going to run, is I'll try and find somewhere to mount the surge tank that's below the fuel cell, so we still have gravity running down to it and we can run this system. Otherwise, we're up shit creek again. But we can always figure something out. So I do have a plan B in mind, which is grab one of these out of here and put a dash 8 fitting into it, and then run that in the tray and go gravity from the tank through a filter and then through the pump. Hope I don't have to do it that way. I hope I can work out some way of getting this to work with the surge tank, because I really want to use that. But we do have plan B if all goes if all goes wrong. I was going to say a swear word. So let's get under there. We'll take the surge tank with us. We'll have a look at where the fuel lines can go, and then we'll come back. Well, I'll take yours with me. Let's go and have a look. Kick some of this stuff out the way. Make myself some space. If you guys have been watching also, you'll know this. I've been, in the last few weeks, heat wrapping a few things, and I don't recommend that. I would never do it again, because this shed has fiberglass splinters on everything. Every surface I lean on, I get splinters. If I lay on the ground, I get splinters in my back. They're on everything, and I don't know how that happened, because it was wet when I wrapped them. But that's what's happened, and I regret it. So now, we're going to have a clean up before I get under this ute, sweep the floor, because the last few weeks has been hell out here with splinters and itchiness and stuff, and I just can't wait for that to be over. So let's get cleaned up, get under there. Hey, Rogie. Alright, let's go. Alright, let's have a look under here. think that's a pretty good spot there. It is the body. There's stuff around to mount to. I'm not really sure what to do with it, but we'll work something out. Maybe if we go to the floor even. Okay. I don't know. Okay, so after getting my hand stuck in this and having to force it out of there and cutting all my hand up, I've actually managed to get rough with it and pop that off of there. So now I can get in and work. So what I've decided to do, well, one of the options is I'm going to drill a hole for this, right down in the guts there, in between the old ones, and use that for our supply to our surge tank, which I'll mount under the tray at the back, or at the front. It doesn't really matter, so long as we can get fuel to it. So that will be our supply. The only reason why I'm doing this is because for some reason this surge tank was supplied with a -8 supply out to the engine, but only -6s to the fittings here. So from the tank to this will have to be -6, unless I go and buy a fitting to go up a size into -8, but then I have to buy something else. So I'm thinking if I can get away with running a bulkhead into the bottom of the tank down there, and then I'll run -6 to here, and then one of those will go back up to here. So that'll be our return to the tank from the surge tank. We'll have return from the engine to there, so that'll cover that. This will be our vent, which it already is, and then that'll be a supply to the carby. So that'll all work out. It's not ideal and it's not exactly the way I'd envisioned it, but at least that way I can run the surge tank, because without this setup going this way, I was going to have to, what I toyed with previously was running out of the fuel cell into the fuel filter, and then fuel filter, fuel pump, all in line like this, and then over to the floor over there, and then down and up to the engine. And I don't really want to do that. So I do actually have another one of these filters in -6, so I can run from the tank to the filter to here under gravity, all -6, and then this will fill right up to the top with gravity, do a run, and I don't think we're going to use however many litres of fuel that is in one run, and then it will top back up when you take your foot off the accelerator, so that should work good. So that's what we're going to run with. So I took this out prematurely because I did actually think that I was going to be able to use this bulkhead in its place, but the hole is actually way too big, so this is going to have to go back in. I'll put that back in, tighten it down, and I'm going to cap it with this cap over here. I'll install that one down there with some new washers, and then we're going to start plumbing this thing in. So we are getting somewhere. A bit frustrating and a bit of a head scratcher, but that's what happens with these projects. You got to figure it out. You can't just quit when it gets hard. You just got to work it out, and that's what we're doing. So we'll get this all happening, and fingers crossed it all works. 9.78. Alright, we're going to take those out to 10. Oh yeah, 9 point... Oh, once you scrape the paint off, it's actually 10. So I've been down to the steel shop, picked myself up a nice length of 40mm by 3 flat bar, and we're going to make some tank straps, old-fashioned fuel tank straps. And the way they're going to work is they're going to come down here along the bottom and then back up. I have a 90-degree bend on each end, so they bolt to the floor, and then off of the tank strap we're going to have a tab just to mount there, and that'll support the tank. Will be mounted so we won't have any side to side, and that will be good to go. So we'll do that now. We'll get some measurements, cut some straps, and we'll have to go to the storage and bend them up. Alright, so height wise, what are we going to do? Height wise, we're looking at 245 minimum, that's the top of those caps. So we'll go 260 as our height. And then, what do we want here? Width, we've got 150, so we're going to go 160 to make sure that we've got enough clearance so that we don't rub the side of the tank. And then some mounting tabs up here. We'll just go with whatever they are. So they're 50, so we'll go 50 for the tabs. Let's get a sheet over here and we'll length the material over here, mark it out, and we'll cut it and then we'll go bend it up. Now I'm going to mark all of my bends. I do know that this is either going to shrink or stretch when I make these, but at least if I make all my measurements on this one and I bend them both together, they'll both be the same. And I've given myself 5mm clearance on both sides of the tank for the folds up around the tank. So we should be okay. Just quickly measure them and mark them right now. And then we'll cut it. Okay guys, 2 pieces there, identical length to each other. Let's go bend them. Just have to make sure these are square, because if I bend them out, they'll be they won't work. Primitive but awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what that friend is. I tried to make it flatter than it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's just bending it.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be any more flash than it is. There you have it guys, 2 tank brackets, identical to each other, ready to go. So we'll go back and we'll drill some mounting holes, get them in place, and they'll be all good. Alright, I'm back home with tank straps, so let's see if they fit. Fingers crossed. So got my tank in here, as you can see, and clearance wise, we've got our 10mm across the top that we wanted. So the next move is to make a tab off of this strap on both sides that comes around here that we can bolt into. So cut a few pieces now, just a couple of little bits, we'll weld them on, and I'm also thinking about maybe putting a strap across here or something just to make this all one piece. Don't know yet, I'll figure it out as I go. Let's cut some tabs. Okay, so I've got a couple of tabs made up here. So I mocked up where I want my straps to go on this tank, and then all I did was grab this and mark the center point, and I've also marked the center point on that already, and then slid it under there until it contacted the bracket, so you can see down there. Marked my hole, marked a center point, and then scribed a line down the side here to cut off. So those are the perfect size, so we'll cut those now, and we'll I don't know if we'll weld them or drill them first, but we'll cut that off first to shape, and then we'll chuck them on. Alright, got those tacked in place, and I've just made sure that they're square and everything's right, so I'm going to go through and turn them over now and I'll weld the backs. Then I'll come back across and weld the top, that way I can stop it from warping around. And then once I've done that, I'll drill some holes around the edges, drill some holes up here, and we'll trial fit it in the car. So let's do some more welding. Okay, those tabs are welded on, front and back. So what we'll do now is we'll round the edges of the tabs and we'll ground the tops off, because the tank's got to sit on there, so we want that nice and smooth, but at least we know we've got full penetration all the way through, and I'll be happy with that. We'll just round them off now, and we'll be good. I have actually started using the full bore cutting discs as well. So far so good. I have been using the Flexivit up until now, but they've gotten really expensive, and 3 or 4 cuts in, these things are done. So decided to go, even though these are a lot cheaper and nastier, if I'm going to be using as many as I'm using, I might as well use the cheap ones, and I'll just give them a run and see how they go. They have been pretty good so far, and decided to go for the, what brand's this? Kango flat wheels. This is the first time I'm going to be using this one. Same thing, I was using Flexivit, but things are just getting real expensive, so I'm going to give these a run, see how they go. Perfect time for it on this one, where I've got some edges and stuff to flatten out that I want to look nice. So let's see what they're like. I think that's pretty good. I've left a lot of the weld on there. Not a lot, just so you can see where it was. But that was what, 10 seconds of grinding, and so far so good. Let's round these edges. Barely anywhere on that, so far so good. Probably sticking with those for a while, just until everything price-wise cools down, but yeah, we'll see. Alright, let's get this thing, let's get some holes drilled in it, and mount this tank. Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but this tank isn't going to sit on the floor evenly because we've got the ribs in the bottom of the tray. So to remedy that, we're going to make ourselves some washers just to pack it a little bit. So we're probably going to use some, might use some of that flat strap we already had and just punch some holes in it and make some plates. I'll measure how high that needs to be and then I'll cut something and we'll space that out and then we'll bolt it down. All right, who remembers Uncle Reese's drill bit sharpening lesson? It's time to give it a go. All right, check this out. Far out. Why was that so hot? Okay, so this is ready to go back in the car now. Got all my fuel lines all blocked off with some masking tape, and I've been along and put a brace in the middle there just for peace of mind, just to make sure that this is actually going to hold the whole weight and we're not going to put any weight on those aluminium L brackets. So I also made myself up some spaces for the floor, which are just there. And I gave them a trial run on this side because it's just easier, and they sit flush with the floor. So these turned out to be around about 10 millimeters in height from the bottom to the top. So I used a bit of 10 mil plate, cut a couple of bits out, drilled some holes, obviously, and just trial run them here just to make sure. So now what we'll do is we'll grab these two, put them under the floor for these two holes. We'll bolt all this thing up and we'll start doing some hosing. And then tomorrow, when it's not so late, because it is late now, tomorrow we'll come back across and I'll make some plates to go over the floor here. I'll probably make, I won't be using this, I'll use some of that 3 mil just to stiffen this up a little bit, and I'll make them probably about the same sort of size, and I'll just tack them to the floor just to make sure it's super safe and strong, and it'll look neat and tidy. So we'll do that tomorrow morning, but for now, let's get this thing trial fitted and start doing some hoses, because we can't make any noise, so this is what we're left with tonight. Fun. Okay, so run into a big snag, and I don't have anything I can do about it tonight or in the near future because it's the weekend. Turns out that the fuel pumps aren't dash 10, sorry, they aren't dash 8 like I thought. They're actually a dash 10 ORB. So we're stuck. I was just about to hose this thing up. I'll give you a look at where we're at. So, get my light there. So the brackets we made turned out awesome. So that's all on there really good, right? And then I've gone up here and about to hose up the supply to the carby, and you can see this port, just there. There's nothing in that right now because I've got the fitting in my hand, but I'll put it back in there just so you can see. Okay, so this is the fitting here, and that goes in there. With any luck I'll get it in there one day. Alright, so that goes in there. I always assumed that that was a dash 8 because we've got two Bosch pumps, and I assumed they were joined together into a dash 8, but that's actually a dash 10, and all my kit is dash 6 and dash 8. I don't have any fittings. Don't have any fittings to adapt that, so I'm really upset about it. Probably on Monday I can go and get a reducer, but right now I can't, and that's it, stuck. So I do have a plan for everything else. I'm gonna just push ahead and get the whole rest of it hosed up, but that's a fail, guys. This video was supposed to be fuel system, car running, and it looks like we're going to get 99% of the way there and get held up by one fitting. So yeah, no good, but we do what we can, and sometimes this happens, unfortunately, but I'm not going to get down about it. I'm just going to keep on trucking along. I'm going to finish off this fuel system, get everything else plumbed up, have it all ready to go, get the wiring done, and yeah, on Monday I'll shoot down, get the reducer, or get a ORB fitting that fits in there that reduces down to a dash 8, so it's not fitting on top of fitting and top of fitting. And then yeah, bit of a letdown because I really want to get this done this weekend. Anyway, I'll hose the rest of it up. I might actually go inside now. Might have a break from it, go inside, relax, come out fresh in the morning, and hose the rest of it up. But yeah, the win to take out of today is that the surge tank's mounted, and it's mounted well. It looks great. Like, I'm really happy with these tank brackets and the reinforcement I put in the bottom, so it's not just relying on those aluminium tabs. And there's plenty of clearance. I don't know if you guys can see, plenty of clearance around the tops of the pumps between there and the floor. Heaps of room for my fittings and my wiring and all that. So I'm really happy with how it all turned out. Yeah, just upset that I can't actually finish it off tonight, because I would have really loved to be able to start it in the morning, but that's not going to happen now. So yeah, I will go inside. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so something happened last night. I was laying in bed. I was actually asleep, and my mind must have been just, you know, constantly thinking about this ute over and over and over. And I woke up, and I thought it popped into my head that when we went up here and we replaced the outlet from the fuel pressure regulator, we downsized that to a -6, and it was originally a -8. So my brain woke me up, told me all about it. I came out here, found the part, the fitting that we pulled out, and trial fitted it in the fuel solid, what's it called? I haven't slept much, guys. Into the fuel surge tank. So what I did was I got under there, screwed it in. This is midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Screwed it in there, it fitted. So then I was back on a roll. So I didn't go to bed, stayed out here, and I hosed up our supply and our return from the surge tank to the regulator. So I'll show you where we're at with that. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of hose up this end, and I've cable tied it just to hold it in place, and then marked it with some masking tape where I'm going to chop them. And we'll jump underneath and I'll show you what we've done under there. Once again, everything here has fiberglass splinters all over it. So I went to bed, I don't know what time it was this morning, pretty late. Itchy as anything, had a shower, woke everyone up. But we got the hoses done, so, well, sort of. Now, oh, this is great, don't have any light. Hang on a second. Alright, so you can see there, that's the return line, and I've got a 90 on that, and then around here, this is what I've used, which is the, it's a 180 or something. It's basically a return style fitting. So I did that because I didn't want to kink the hose, so I've wrapped that around. The hose runs around the back, and then it runs down here above the chassis, and then along the chassis rail to the front. I've gone up over the cross member there because there's a void, and then all the way along the chassis to the front. It's held on with cable ties just for now until I get some proper P-clamps. But yeah, that's what I got up to. So today, what I wanted to do is, if you can see there, I've got another one of those special fittings. I don't know how well you can see that. It comes up and down. So this one, it actually was a much tighter bend than that. So what I did was I give it a bend back out ever so slightly, and I'll show you how to do that just in a minute. But just enough to get it to clear the tank so that we can get a hose on it without fouling. And that one is going to run, well, where's that one going to go? That's going to come down here. Oh, that's right, I remember now. So I'm going to change this hose onto this fitting so it can run straight down and around instead of doing this big loop. Because I only have 3 of these 90s in the kit. I've already used 2 of them, so this is all I've got left. So now that's going to go to there, and then this one, this fitting is going to run across to here, which is our return, up to the cell, and then from the back, all the way back there, you can see that's the fuel cell there. We're going to have our supply or our outlet from that. That's going to run out of here, and then through this void here, which I've already checked and made sure that actually fits, and then it's going to run down to one of the spare fittings here. So we're going to have one going up to there, one going to there, and then we're going to be done. So let's get stuck into that. I'm so tired, I just want to get this thing done now. And then we'll be done for this video, I think, because we'll still have to wire this thing up. And I'm not up for that. I've done too much this weekend. I don't have any energy left, and I just want to get these hoses finished. So I'll quickly hose that up. I'll show you what I've done, and then we'll be done. This Dash 6 kit came with two of these fittings. They both were identical. This is one that I haven't touched, and this is the one that I've modified. So you can see here, just put it over the top there. It's only ever so slight, but the bottom one is off on a different angle. I wonder if I can show it better with this one on top. Yeah, that's it. There you go. You can see there. I haven't changed it much, just enough to clear the tank. And the way that I did that was with these flag tips. So I used two hands, obviously, but what I did was I got these flag tip circlip pliers and I put them between the flats on the fitting, and then I gave it that. Not enough to damage the fitting or anything like that, just to spread it enough to get it to work. And I'm happy with it, so that's what we're going to run. Gets us out of the shit with needing another 90-degree fitting. So yeah, we're using that now. And so the next thing we've got to do, we're going to hose this one up for the front, for the regulator, and then we'll get our other two 90s hosed up to come up to here. So let's get that done. Alright, so I've just finished fitting those two front fittings on the fuel pressure regulator, the supply and return. And I thought I'd just give you a rundown on how to fit these, just in case you guys are going to think about doing the same thing. So quickly run through how to fit these onto the fuel lines. These are both a different style, so I'll demonstrate both. One's an olive type and one's just a screw-on. So let's do that now. Now, first things first, cut your hose, wrap some masking tape around it, cut your hose as straight as you can, and clear any burrs out of your hose. Then, if you've got air, blow air down it. You can do it with your mouth, or if you've got an air compressor, blow that through. Then you get your fitting. This is an olive type fitting, and I'll show you what that means. Whoa, crazy wind. So, that there is called an olive. Okay, so that goes on there, and that screws on there. Oop. Anyway, so the way that you do this is rip off your masking tape, wherever the end is. Masking tape's off. Take this part of your fitting and push it on. Okay. Then get your olive. Now, this, oh shit. Okay, we're back. Now get your olive. You can see it's got a taper on it. So what you want to do is the taper goes towards this fitting. Okay, so you've got to push this over the white part of your hose. And push it all the way down until the olive is seated on that white bit of pipe. You can see that there. Now next, what you want to do, get your fitting and I actually might give this another cut. Okay, get your olive, so you get the taper there, that goes towards this fitting, push it on to your white hose and get it all the way seated. So you can see in there, that's all the way on. Now, grab your fitting, this part here, stick it in there, all the way down, and bring this up. And tighten that on. Now you're going to need some pliers, not pliers, you're going to need some spanners. That compresses the olive in there. Give that a tug, make sure your hose isn't going to pull out, and you're good to go. Okay, so with your olive type fitting, the way that they work is the olive ends up going over the hose, over that white part, and then the end that unscrews, as that tightens up onto the fitting itself, it actually crimps the olive down onto the hose and onto the shaft that's actually inside the, well, if you saw that video, obviously the white bit that's there, the nylon or whatever the material is. So that goes inside the hose, the olive goes on the outside of the hose, and then you've got like a tapered nut that goes on, and that just crimps the olive down. So technically they're a single use unless you've got a bag or box full of olives. Otherwise they aren't reusable. So that's one style. Now the other style, which is what we're going to fit now, these are reusable ends. So the way that these work is you unscrew your what would be the tapered nut on your olive type fitting. Okay, once you've unscrewed that, you might be able to see inside here there are actually some large threads. There we go. So what happens with these is you get this part, you get your hose. Right now we're doing the this will be the gravity feed down to the surge tank. So dash 8, grab this, wind it on. Actually, first of all, get the masking tape off where you've cut it. Use the masking tape trick if you can, guys. It's a good one. I learnt it from a mate of mine. G'day, Brian. Yeah, so masking tape around there, cut it, it won't fray as much and it'll be much easier to get these on. So yeah, get your hose, get your fitting, and just screw it on real tight until it's all the way seated. You'll be able to see it from the inside. You can see the hose here is right up here somewhere. That's what you want. So what I like to do, grab that bit of masking tape that you just ripped off. Once this is all the way seated, get your masking tape and just put it around there like that, so you know that that nut is all the way on. Then get your fitting and you're going to force this in and turn it at the same time. Make sure that you actually don't cross thread it. So if it doesn't feel right, come back out again, go back in. The reason why I do it this way is because sometimes when you push this in and you start screwing this nut up, it'll actually come away from the hose and you're going to have a really bad join, because technically this nut, once it's on, isn't meant to move. So if you're tightening this nut onto this, you're winding it off the hose. So wind this on, hold it in the one position, push this in, turn it. Okay, get it started, wind it all the way down. Make sure that your nut isn't getting pulled off. All right, now that's all the way down. You can see that my masking tape's still in the same place. The nut hasn't moved, and my fitting is where I want it. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten that up, and we're ready to go back onto the cell. I'll grab some spanners. So at the moment I'm using this. This is a spanner that I've had since I was an apprentice, and it's a shorty because I cut the end off. Because it was too long to fit where I needed to, so it's been good. I like it for doing these fittings. You can buy these especially for these aluminium fittings, and I would love some. So if anyone out there wants to send me some, please, please do. But I can't afford them. They're like 180 bucks each or something, and they They are actually a beautiful tool, and I really would love to have some one day, but this does what I need to do. So this is what I use. Anyway, so what we do here, hold the bottom one. You're basically holding the bottom one in place and tightening the top one. So we don't want that bottom one to turn and come off the hose. So, all right, so a couple of turns, you'll feel it start to bind up. Not bind up. You'll feel some tension when it's really starting to insert itself in that fitting. Now, all I do once I can feel that it's got some really good tension on it, I give it another half a turn, which is here, around here, and that's it. Won't come off now. It's as tight as it can go, and it's not over tightened. These aluminium fittings can be over tightened easily and split, so you don't want to do that. So just go down until you can feel it starting to nip up. Give it a pretty good turn until you can feel that tension on it. Half a turn past there. And then yank it. All good. All you do now is just bolt up into your fuel cell, which we'll do in a minute, and you're done. So that's the two different types of flexible fuel hose fittings. I hope that helps out some of you guys out there that haven't done them before. There are other types as well, just in case you ever come across them. There are crimp fittings. So they're not very handy for us guys that are DIYers because we can't crimp them ourselves. So that's why I always go to these. They just do what I need them to do and I like them. So olive type, obviously, you're crimping your olive down onto the hose. Single use, reusable, screw them on, screw your fitting in, all good. And that's about that, guys. So another day, another lesson. Hope you guys took something from it. I hope you liked it. And let's keep going with this build. Just enough to clear it, guys. Don't go crazy. Now hopefully with any luck these won't leak, but we won't know until we get some fuel in them. So I'm just hoping at this stage. But these are the only fittings we have left, so we're going to try and make it work. Just enough to clear. Alright, for anyone that doesn't know what we're just doing there, these kits only come with a limited amount of fittings, and we are running out of fittings real fast. And I want to get this whole thing hosed up. I want to get the carby hosed up and everything as well. So the only fittings that really I wanted to sacrifice at this point are these U-bends, or whatever you want to call them, because I don't really have any other use for them. So what I'm thinking, this is a two birds one stone situation. So this tank, I was going to drill a hole in there originally and fit the dash 6 bulkhead, but what I decided to do instead, I actually have two of these, and I bought one in dash 6 and one in dash 8, because originally I was going to run one before and after the pump, but now I'm not going to. So what I decided to do was steal a dash 6 fitting, which is that one, out of the dash 6 kit, fit it to this on the pressure side, and on the suction side we're running the dash 8. That way we can run dash 8 gravity from the tank to here, then it changes to dash 6, which suits our surge tank. So this is going to be straight hose here, straight hose here. We're not going to have to sacrifice any of our straight fittings for our dash 6, because we're going to need, we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 left, so we need those. We've got a couple of T-pieces and elbows and stuff, but we need to keep all of them to hose up the carby. So that's why we've gone in the direction we've gone in. Now I'm going to get under there and I'm going to get this thing hosed up. I don't know where I'm going to mount it yet, but I'm at least going to have a rough idea, get it in place, get some hoses going to it, and then that'll be done, and then I can focus on the front. Because we're getting really close now. I don't have the vent worked out just yet, because that's a dash 6, dash 8 situation as well. I think what I'm going to do with that, because I'm not too fussed with that at the moment, I'll order a reducer for that, dash 8 down to dash 6 and just run dash 6 hose. So that'll take care of that. But right now, I'm not worried about that because we do have a vent coming up through the floor, and that will do us for now, as long as we don't put too much fuel in the tank. And yeah, so that's what's going to happen. Let's keep working. Let's get this fuel filter mounted and hosed up, and then we'll focus on the front end. Okay, so sometimes things just happen like they're meant to, which is really weird. But I was having a look here and figuring out where I was going to put my fuel filter, and what I realised, hang on a sec, change hands. What I realised is that this is actually what we need. It's perfect. So if I was to run it this way, our lines would be too tight. If I went straight from there over to there, or the back, straight back there, it'd be too tight, it wouldn't work, it'd pull apart. It's just the way it would go. So turns out, from having to use these U-shaped bends, we can actually mount this on the floor right here, and this one here can run up there, which will give us a nice swoop and a straight shot through where we were aiming to go. And the same in the reverse with the other side. We'll have a nice swoop coming down and into the surge tank. So sometimes when you're trying to make things happen, you don't realise you're actually doing it the way it should be done. So I'm really happy about that. I did obviously, like I say, have to bend these just ever so slightly to clear the fuel filter. But this is all going to work. So I'm going to whack some hoses on there now. And then this portion of the job will be done. And we'll get under the bonnet and we'll hose up the carby. Alright, and just like that, we are hosed up. We've got the 90 over there at the fuel cell coming down in dash 8, going across to our filter, and then from the filter got our U-bend dash 6 over to our surge tank. We've got surge tank to breather, and then we've got return and supply running all the way down the chassis. They're cable tied in place for now, but they're good enough. Let's go under the engine bay and have a look. Alright, so following on from underneath the chassis rails, come up into the engine bay here. We've got our supply into our regulator, and we've got our return back to the fuel cell. This one actually goes back to the surge tank first, and then when the surge tank fills right up, there's actually a return from the surge tank up to the cell. So that's how that works. So you got fuel in, fuel out, and then travels all the way back to the start. Then we've got our supply to the carby, which I haven't finished because I've run out of fittings. So this actually travels along here with the oil pressure supply line, and then around nice and tight up to the carby. I've actually decided that I'm going to go and buy the fuel line adapter, which I didn't initially want to buy, but I'm going to buy that for this. Get rid of this unit here, and it'll just be dash 6 straight out of there, straight dash 6 fitting onto that, and we'll be done. So that's actually good because it's taken away the issue that we might have run into over here with throttle cable and return spring and some sort of interference. So I'm happy with that, and it's all turning out pretty good now. Typical that the bird would start singing right now. Anyway, so that's it for today. I'm happy with where we got to. All that's left to do now is to wire up that pump, and I'm going to run the pump 12 volt supply straight from the battery here to the pump. I'll run it, I'll have a fuse on it, and then I'll run a relay from there to the switch. That way I can, not a switch, an ignition switch. So when the key's on, everything's on. When the key's off, everything's off. Because I want it simple. I don't want to have to get in and flick switches on for fan and fuel pump and whatever else. I just want to be able to get in, turn the key on, everything works. Turn the key off, everything's off. And that's what makes me happy. So I'm going to go ahead now, go inside, and I'm going to order myself that adapter for the carby. I'm going to order myself some special P-clamps that run on these AN lines, because I've seen a bunch of stuff there that I like, and now that I've got everything basically run where I want it to be, I can mount them permanently instead of having the cable tie situation going on. And yeah, so that'll be it for this week. Like I say, if you liked it, drop me a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the hype button because that's really helpful. Shows a lot more people the video than would usually see it, and for everyone out there that's doing that, I really appreciate that, so thank you very much. And so that's about it. All I've got left to say is those projects aren't going to finish themselves. Get out in the shed. Cheers.